The commercial spacecraft Nostromo is returning to Earth in 2122 with 20 million tons of mineral ore. The crew sleeps in pods and is made up of 7 humans and a cat. But halfway through the voyage, Mother, the ship's computer, awakens the crew. Captain Dallas heads straight to the computer room to find out from Mother what the problem is, while the other members of the crew inspect the ship. When Navigator Lambert discovers they are not in the solar system and cannot locate Earth on the screen, she is startled. She eventually locates Earth on a map and discovers that it is far away from where they had thought it would be. When Warrant Officer Ripley tries to reach traffic control over the radios, no one responds. A little while later, Dallas gathers the group and tells them Mother wanted them to investigate the signal she intercepted, which is why she had interrupted their slumber. They don't sure if it's a person or an SOS, but the message seems to be an acoustic sound that repeats every 12 seconds. Because they are a commerce ship and not a rescue ship, the crew becomes irritated and wants to return home. Dallas warns them, though, that they will not be compensated if they do not adhere to the guidelines. The Nostromo follows the signal to an unidentified planet, but as it approaches, turbulence begins, and the crew notices odd sounds coming from outside. They successfully land the ship, but as soon as it touches down, there is a massive explosion that releases electricity and renders the ship unusable. The crew finds out they have a hull breach as they scramble to put out minor fires and assess the system damage. Chief Engineer Parker and Engineering Technician Brett work to repair the damage as the lights come on and off. Parker says that getting the ship back up and running will need extensive system rerouting and that it will take at least 25 hours. Dallas is irritated that the ship's majority of channels are inoperable. The climate on the planet is harsh and windy, and Science Officer Ash informs Dallas that Mother says it will dawn in 20 minutes. Executive Officer Kane offers to search for the transmission, and Lambert and Dallas consent to accompany him. Following their outfit changes, the three set out to navigate the windy, dark planet, with Ripley making futile attempts to locate the signal on the ship's computer system. The three discover a large, seemingly abandoned spacecraft while exploring. Lambert is cautious and believes they ought to turn around, but the guys ignore her and press on. The crew is unable to hear them over the communications as more and more static appears as they approach the mystery ship. Once inside the weird ship, the group discovers a fossilized extraterrestrial sitting on a chair. Dallas observes that the bones appear to have burst from the body in an outward-facing manner. Kane discovers a sizable hole in the floor in another room. Mother has decoded the gearbox, which is a warning rather than an SOS, Ripley tells Ash on the Nostromo. Returning to the group of three, Kane descends the hole to see a grotto of sorts, filled with odd, leathery items that resemble eggs. A high-pitched buzzing sound is audible when Kane brushes the mist covering them. Kane stumbles and falls abruptly, but he gets up fast and touches an egg, which seems to scream as something moves inside. When Kane looks inside the egg to get a closer look at the alien, it bursts out and latches itself to his helmet, sending him flying. At that very time, the top of the egg opens like a flower, and it growls. Soon after, Dallas and Lambert return an unconscious Kane to the Nostromo, but Ripley won't open the door upon seeing the creature, citing a potential infection. After a disagreement, Ash decides to open the door over Ripley's objections. After examining the alien's body, the crew takes off Kane's helmet and brings him to the infirmary. Kane is still breathing, even after the alien has penetrated the helmet and wrapped its limbs around his skull. With surgical tongs, Ash tries to cut off an alien arm, but the limb just gets tighter. After placing Kane in a pod to undergo an X-ray, they learn that the alien has placed a limb, which supplies him with oxygen, into his trachea. It appears that the beast has rendered him unconscious and paralyzed. The creature is then decided to be removed by Dallas and Ash by simply cutting it off. They create a little incision, and a repulsive fluid shoots out and starts to burn through the floor. The team descends the stairs floor by level, seeing the fluid's gradual cessation of leakage through the various ceilings. After collecting some of the acid with a pen, Dallas deduces that the alien is using it as a defense mechanism to prevent them from killing it. After that, Brett and Parker carry on with the repairs while Kane conducts some tests, and finds that the alien quickly replaces its cells in order to defend itself against unfavorable environmental circumstances. When Ripley chastises him once more for letting the alien board the ship, Ash simply tells her to let him carry out his duties. Later, when Dallas, Ash, and Ripley visit the hospital, they find that Kane's face is visible. Fearing for their lives, the group searches for the alien, which drops from the sky and lands on Ripley. She shoves the alien off of her, causing it to fall on its back and screams. Ash prods the alien, causing it to stir, but he is certain that this is only a reflex and that it is dead. They then give the monster a closer look and discover that it has opened from the inside. Ash argues that since this is the only species of its sort that they have encountered, it should be brought to Earth for additional research, despite Ripley's desire to get rid of it. Ripley gets upset when Dallas lets Ash keep the alien. Ripley confides in Dallas that she doesn't think Ash is trustworthy. The Nostromo eventually departs the planet and begins its journey towards Earth after the repairs are completed. Ash informs the crew that Kane's condition has altered while they are debating whether or not to freeze him in order to stop the dangerous contagion from spreading. When the crew visits the infirmary, they are relieved to learn that Kane is awake and well. He just recalls a terrifying dream of being smothered, and not much more about the planet. The crew gets together for dinner. Kane is ravenous and overeats, but all of a sudden he starts to choke and is really sick. The staff tries to hold his body as he collapses onto the table on his back during a seizure. That's when an extraterrestrial coated in human blood bursts out of Kane's chest. Parker reaches for a knife as the creature scans his surroundings, but Ash warns him not to touch it. The alien then lets out a screech and bolts from the room. The crew makes an effort to look for it, but they are unsuccessful. The crew then wraps Kane's body and launches him into space. They can now search the ship more thoroughly. As Ash reveals, he has built up a tracking system that will locate a moving object on the ship by sensing minute changes in air density. Brett receives a sparking rod. Dallas divides the group into two groups, with Ripley going with Parker and Brett, and he going with Ash and Lambert. When they locate the alien, he instructs them to place it in the air duct and to stay in constant contact with the crew. On the bottom level, Ripley's squad makes their way along a dimly lit passageway. Since the lights should be rectified, the team stops to fix whatever circuit broke again. The team resumes its search in a dark chamber now that they have adequate light. The gang shouts as something jumps out, and it appears like the tracker is picking up something. However, it turns out to be Jones the cat, who bolts into another room. Brett follows Jones, meowing to grab his attention, not wanting the tracker to detect the cat again. Brett chases the sound after hearing Jones meow back, only to see Jones retreat once more. Brett finds a bizarre, scaly skin on the ground at that very moment. He tries to pick it up, but he drops it back out of disgust. Then, following Jones into a different room, he hears an odd, menacing sound. The cat is in a corner when he finds it, and he quickly starts hissing. In reality, Brett has seen the massive alien that has fallen behind him, even though he believes Jones is hissing at him. Jones turns away, growling, and then Brett turns around to face the alien. As he does, the alien launches a second mouth to bite Brett in the head and drag him towards the ceiling, all the while Jonas watches in the shadows. A few minutes later, Dallas is told by Parker and Ripley that Brett was dragged into one of the air shafts by the monster. Ash notes that although the monster appears to have adapted to their air, they are still unaware of temperature. So Dallas muses over enticing him into the airlock and launching him into space. Parker is given the order by Dallas to rig many incineration units. Ripley offers to follow the creature into the air shafts, but Dallas says he'll go instead. Dallas initially stops to ask Mother for advice on how to fight the alien and any estimates of their odds of surviving, but Mother finds the questions confusing. After that, Dallas goes through the air shaft, while updating the others on his progress. When he's through, Ripley shuts the hatch and opens it again for him. Lambert says that the alien is somewhere near the third junction, after tracking its movements on the screen. In order to ensure that the path is free, Dallas uses his flamethrower to shoot down a hatch. When he reaches the third intersection, he descends the ladder. Lambert abruptly orders him to remain still, saying she has lost the alien's signal. Dallas touches a neighboring surface and notices weird slime. He lights his flamethrower to get more light, but it doesn't reveal anything. The alien resurfaces on the radar at that precise moment and is heading straight for him. Dallas can't see the extraterrestrial, but he starts to quickly climb up after Lambert tells him to leave. Lambert then lets out a scream as Dallas goes into a different room and the alien is shown by the light. After Dallas's location is lost, the radar becomes static. When the crew members attempt to reach him, nothing happens on the cue. After that, Parker says he found Dallas's flamethrower in the air vent, where Dallas was attacked, and sets it down in the cockpit. He did not, however, see Dallas or any blood. Lambert, who is crying, offers that they board the shuttle and leave the ship, but Ripley tells her that the shuttle cannot accommodate 4 people. After a fight breaks out, Ripley calls for everyone to calm down and offers a strategy. They'll work in pairs to block off each alien's vent until it's cornered, at which point they'll blow it out of the sky. After that, Ripley visits Mother to ask for improvement, but she tells him that no more can be done because it's science officer eyes only. When Ripley presses for further information, Mother replies that Ash has designed the spacecraft to prioritize bringing the alien back to Earth for analysis, which means the crew is disposable. When Ash moves closer to Ripley and offers an explanation, the enraged man grabs Ash by the collar and throws him to the ground. Then the door abruptly closes as Ripley dashes outside to try to contact the others. Ash closes that door as well, despite Ripley's instructions to open it as she moves towards another. Ash's face twitches as a strange white fluid erupts on his head. Ripley tries to flee. She attempts to crawl away, but Ash grabs her by the jacket and slams her against the wall. He pulls her by the hair and makes her fall while ripping off several strands. Then, with the intention of killing her, he tosses Ripley through a door and takes a magazine to put in her mouth. Parker and Lambert arrive and launch an attack on Ash, who injures Parker in the chest as Ripley struggles against him. Following further fighting, they are able to hit Ash with a fire extinguisher, and as white fluid streams out of his neck, he begins to malfunction rather severely. Ash's head explodes when Parker strikes him with the extinguisher once again. It is shown that he is, in fact, an android, something the team had not previously realized, as wires and liquid emerge from his body. Parker is being attacked by the headless corpse, but Lambert stops him in his tracks by charging behind him and stabbing Ash's body. After Ash's body is later examined, the crew comes to the conclusion that the firm must have desired an alien for the weapons division. When Parker plugs in Ash's head, more white fluid starts to flow out of his mouth, and Ash gradually comes back to life. When Ripley questions Ash about the special order, he responds that all other priorities have been dropped and that he has to bring back the life form. Ash responds that they can't kill the alien because it's a flawless organism when Ripley asks how. Ripley informs the others that they will blow up the ship and take the shuttle after disconnecting the head. Parker uses the flamethrower to burn Ash's remains before he exits the room. While Ripley heads to prepare the shuttle, Lambert and Parker descend to get coolant for the trip. She chooses to go get Jones after becoming startled to hear his cries over the speaker while she is working. She hears a rustling sound while searching the cockpit, and for a split second, she is worried. But then Jones jumps out and makes her scream. After that, Ripley takes the cat and places him in his carrier. Lambert and Parker, meantime, are assembling supplies when all of a sudden they realize the extraterrestrial is in the room with them. As the beast gets closer to Lambert, Parker tells her to move, and Ripley overhears this over the intercom. Parker tries to assist Lambert as the alien approaches her and she runs out of space, but the creature catches Parker with its claws. The alien then kills them both after catching Lambert with its tail and showing off its second mouth. Through the intercom, Ripley can hear their screams, but by the time she arrives, it's too late. Ripley begins to cry when she sees the bodies and flees. She starts the ship's self-destruct device in the emergency department, and then heads back to the shuttle. After descending several stairs with the flamethrower for illumination, Ripley discovers an odd organic structure stuck to the machinery and walls. She is shocked to discover Dallas trapped there as well, barely surviving. Another shape appears to be Brett. He appears to be melting and changing into an object akin to the eggs at the start. Ripley uses the flamethrower to burn them both when Dallas cries out for mercy. Subsequently, Ripley emerges from a hatch alongside Jones to fetch the package, sprint down the hallway, and board the shuttle. When Ripley notices that the alien is around the corner and the lights begin to flicker, she gently flees, leaving Jones behind. Ripley rushes back to the computer to attempt to halt the detonation process, but it's too late as the alien hits the box and looks at the cat. Instead, she tries telling Mother to stop it, but it doesn't work either, so Ripley slams the motherboard in an irate manner. The cat is unharmed, but Ripley discovers Jones's carrier on the ground as she dashes back to the shuttle. When the alien is nowhere to be found and the hallway she just came from is beginning to catch fire, Ripley heads to the shuttle cockpit, where she eventually takes flight, abandoning the Nostromo just in time to watch it explode in a massive explosion. After that, Ripley places Jones in a sleeping pod and begins preparing for his own slumber. A claw suddenly tries to grasp her, and as Ripley screams and retreats, she finds the alien has slipped inside the shuttle to follow it. After that, Ripley places Jones in a sleeping pod and begins preparing for his own slumber. A claw suddenly tries to grab her, and as Ripley screams and retreats, she finds the alien has hidden within the shuttle to follow her. Running to the closet, she hides there and begins putting on a spacesuit while keeping an eye on the alien, who looks to be sleeping. Before exiting the vehicle and strapping herself to a chair, Ripley also puts on a helmet and seizes a harpoon rifle. After that, she pushes a few buttons to launch steam at the extraterrestrial, which starts to scream and move in her direction. Ripley opens a hatch at that precise moment, and the creature is propelled skyward by the pressure. To complete the process of forcing the alien out, Ripley fires the harpoon gun at it while it clings to the door's sides. The alien is currently hanging off the door and attempting to use a thruster to get back inside the spacecraft, but Ripley ignites the engine, burning the creature until it ultimately falls out of the abyss. Finally safe, Ripley writes a report on all that transpired before entering the sleeping pod with Jones.